showing things different scale in different scales kind of helps, I think, to us to understand them a little bit more and to see them actually, because you don't really usually focus on some point in the ground when you are walking in the city, so we kind of want to show them. Non-human perspective, breathing, resistance, surviving, adapting, unseen, maybe.
I would say unexpected collaborations, maybe.
Because you also play with scales. We are doing this actually from still a human eye, but kind of we are trying to do from their eye.
Water as body. We are thinking all of the elements as a body. Water is not just a landscape, but it's kind of half alive creature.
And then the water that we have in the model have like different kind of like natural elements from the water, like mussels and that kind of things, but then also like the pollution and like this kind of
Plastic bags.
Yeah. So kind
Color
of like the
changes.
human caused elements are also present in there. Like the first thought that just came to my mind is that like how could and how would and how have they been traveling around the world? They would like actually travel with the boats, whatever, like explorers would go around, like the police would like travel with them, like on their clothes, on their animals, on their like, so they're like these like secret passengers, but otherwise they have like no ways to go. Obviously they can't think, or at least we don't know that they would like, I will board this boat and this boat is probably going to America, but they know that, or like it's kind of like in the genes of every creature to like kind of spread.
I would focus on the interactions between while it's traveling around the. I don't know. They are jumping around, but they are not just like going around. Something happened to it actually. Maybe it's accidentally get in the water, then it's accidentally touch some, I don't know, acidic stuff. It hurts. I mean, we cannot observe that one, but we can guess. And also like on the cat's fur generally they like put some medicine on it to protect it from the fleas. So yeah, it's affect their life. Their life is not like just going around by the clothes and or I don't know, something like that. It's always something happening.
Those instances when I recognize that I am human are those where non-humans can be heard, maybe. Yeah, I'm searching for those moments in the recording. Sitting on a cat while it meows, and it's pretty sure making something. Of course we hear the rain, but it's also mini vibrations we feel in our body. It's also how we kind of cancel out always our different senses from each other, but they have such a huge impact on each other too. When I'm hearing a sound and seeing, it's different than when I'm not seeing and hearing the sound or feeling the vibration or not. Like laying my ear on a desk and listening is completely different because the vibration comes into my head. It's kind of nice to cancel out stuff, like to see a picture or a photograph, because then it's only the visual sense that reaches you. Also, like just hearing to a track or something while closing your eyes, but having everything at the same time. That's why it's so crazy to be in a festival or in a live concert of an orchestra or something, because everything's there at once. I have to close my eyes or whatever to kind of be able to cope.
Three of us actually were actually interested in the living beings around in a natural environment, like around a tree, for example. We have all three of us investigated a tree, any tree near to the school, and then we have discovered the living beings around them, the herbs and the flowers, and also the living beings as animals and bugs, etc. That's why we have gathered them, and we are trying to actually collect the traces of those living beings and try to combine them. The living beings themselves, like trees, animals, and the traces of them, and the texture of the environment, the temporality and the circular relationship between them.
Common point. It was a tree and the surroundings of a tree. It was a ground, it was a tree, it was the wall and the soil and the air. It was all related with ourselves.
A dog contains different fleas on his skin or her skin. We were thinking of Gezi Park'a member as a carrier bag which contains different characters and also different plants, sometimes talk on their skin. It cannot be only a living one, it can contain some non-living elements on their skin too.
We started with a cavity of a tree, then a spider and its cobweb, roots of the tree passing through some concrete, having some pattern from the interior, I mean the cavity of the tree, as a fragmental patterns with some clay. Flea may be on a cat or a dog, and since it is a cavity of the whole, it's a really huge cavity that can host an animal inside, dog or going around, and then something happened and it just needed to hide in the tree, in the cavity. So the flea on the cat just flew on a part of the interior of the tree. There become some cavities, little, just tiny cavities inside the huge cavity that we actually see there, but we thought that it's because of the worm. Your story and our story can become like that, not seeing that little holes as a worm instead of flea.
Like being dead or being alive, or how to reclaim the soil for me, how to be a stranger, how to combine all of these things together.
As one more permanent thing, I was working on were objects found at the site.
And I don't know if they are living in a dead body, if it is possible, but I'm sure that they are on the surface of
We
our
find a big contrast between those two topics at the right exact same site.
some fleas in our project. Knowing that there is another unhuman being which I cannot see, but it's super close to me and my everywhere. It's super, I don't know, striking, because when you think about it, it can be a fear, or it can be co-worker in our life to become a partners. But when you don't see, you don't think about this cooperation, and you don't think about the fear. So now it's nonetheless. But when once you find out, I think you started to connect with it, so it's different.
Yeah, I think the sound is a really distinctive connection, because when you are inside at the cistern, the only thing you can hear, obviously when it's not crowded, or when you don't hear the people, is the water drops dripping. And also you are seeing constantly they are creating some circles on the surface of the water. I think you can experience that kind of touching, or the atoms, whatever, with the sound of the drops dripping, and also the circular vibration or physical impact on the surface of the water. Also the microbiodiversity on the water of the cistern could connect us to different kinds of points.
In terms of the idea of like scale having such an effect on like the whatever agent, whatever actor or agent or body it is, having like an effect on how you perceive space, I think that's definitely something that like we're interested in. Like you're in the basilica, you have these enormous 9-meter tall columns, like it makes you like understand. It's a bit like going into like a mosque or a church. You have this like this enormous space that as a person you then kind of like feel like you're suddenly perhaps almost shrunk down to the size of what a flea might feel if they're in like, I don't know, a much smaller space. And I think also the thing about moving, like we were thinking about like how we might map the space in the system, like how we might map how we move around. But we realised it's actually like perhaps more valuable not to draw a map, draw an architectural plan and draw our route on it, because that's not really how we perceived it. And I think perhaps that could also relate to it in the way that like I'm not sure if fleas really perceive the distance between places or the way they move around. Like does it know that it's like jumped a meter from one space to the next space, or does it just in that environment that kind of maybe is something?
A much better way to observe being human, and other when you think of others.